So I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about David Lammy at the minute. You know it, I know it, we all know it. I was really, really disturbed by his display in Prime Minister's Questions, which he subsequently said that he's proud to be the first black person answering. I mean, the tweet made no sense. We didn't know whether he was proud to be the first black person to be the Deputy Prime Minister answering questions in Prime Minister's Questions. We don't know what it meant. And that in itself is a bit concerning, because he's sort of like, press send. And you can't do that in that position. And it had no relevance whatsoever to anything that was in Prime Minister's Questions, and he didn't answer any questions. So on every single level, it was like, what are you trying to say here, David? What's the point you want to get across? What are we looking for in this? What? Kemi Badenoch's come back with, a proud moment is nothing to do with your skin pigmentation, I think is what she said, which I agree with. Otherwise, do I turn around and say I'm really proud for putting dinner on the table last night, the first mother of 49 that lives in this house in this postcode, with 3 moles underneath her knee. I don't have 3 moles underneath my knee, but you're getting the point. It's just like, what are we doing with this? Why do we need to even bring this into the equation? And you didn't answer any questions. So I think all it's done is just highlight you as more incompetent, and the fact that you didn't answer any questions, and that you're sort of making random statements that just are like, oh, I'm David Lammy, here's a tweet, I'm David Lammy, here's an interview. It's like, what is any of this meaning? Well, we know it means nothing. And so that really bothered me. And then, as you know from my last video, I got really, really hot under the collar when he started talking about apologising for the anxiety that a victim of sexual abuse felt after their attacker was inadvertently released. It missed the mark on every single level. And it seems to me that it's glaringly obvious. And his point he was trying to make to the politician that had said, are you going to apologise? And he said, well, you clearly didn't watch the debate where I apologised for the anxiety. And it's like, just at that point, David, you say, yeah, I'm sorry. At that point, there is no need to try and get one over on the others, because that's not what this is about. This is about a young woman who was sexually abused, and her abuser was released from prison mistakenly, and she relived the horrific trauma that she'd gone through in the first place. And you need to say sorry, because you're the Justice Secretary. And you need to say sorry for all of it. And you don't need to politicise it. You don't need to be trying to bat it back to anyone else. You just need to say sorry. And you need to mean it. And you need to be humble. And you need to feel what you're saying sorry for. And I shared with you in the last video, I'd heard an interview of her father talking about what this had done, what this meant. And to hear a father, I mean, any parent, but to hear her father talking about this just hammered it home what we're living in. And we can't blame David Lammy for everything. We simply can't. And we can't blame the Labour Party for absolutely everything. We simply can't. But this isn't about that. This is about a situation that was being talked about in the national media. She was having to see, hear, live this every time the radio came on, every time the television came on. And this is why I'm not naming these people. It was constant. And this wasn't political tennis. This was, you are responsible in your position for what happened. And you need to take accountability, and you need to say you're sorry. So I make a video about it, and lots of you respond. And I am, as ever, comforted by reading your messages. I am comforted by reading your empathy towards this family and this young lady, and your genuine disbelief and disappointment in David Lammy. And so when I see a tweet today, and obviously these, I say please like, subscribe and share. These don't always, some of them reach lots of viewers, some of them reach not that many viewers, but that's not why we're doing it. We're not doing it for the numbers game. But it would be nice to raise awareness. It would be nice to raise awareness. And it did go. That one was one that lots of people resonated with. And I know how far the net goes, because I hear from people going, oh, you'll never guess who saw your video. Oh my God, I was talking to somebody last night and they said they'd watched your, word spreads. It does. And I have you to thank for that. I have you for subscribing and sharing and liking. I have you to thank for helping me and helping us. So I know that some of Westminster see these. I know that Westminster gets to tune in, and I know they might not like it. I know they probably disregard a lot of it, but I know some of it hits home. And so imagine when I see a tweet that is from him to say that somebody is back in custody, and they say, David Lammy says, we inherited a prison system in crisis, and I'm appalled at the rate of releases in error this is causing. This is why I've ordered tough new release checks, launched investigation, and started overhauling archaic prison systems. We inherited a prison system in crisis, and I'm appalled at the rate of releases in error this is causing. He cannot take any accountability. He cannot say, this person is back in custody, I'm sorry. It has to be someone else's fault. Like Rachel Reeves, it was the last government's fault. It was Liz Truss's fault. It was America's fault. It was Ukraine's fault. It was Russia's fault. It was Mrs. Miggins' 3 doors down fault. It was that pensioner over there's fault. It was the dog's fault. It was the postman's fault. It was Adam and Eve's fault. It was anyone's fault but Rachel Reeves. And here we are with David Lammy, who gives the big, and all of these politicians, Keir Starmer is the one that, started the trend, give the big I am man speech, the big I am determined, we will do this, I will not accept that, I do not accept that, all of that rhetoric, all of that utter bollocks. They give it all the big mighty speak whilst they blame someone else. They want to look strong. They want to look in control. They want to look powerful. They want to look like they are the top of the tree, and we must all go, oh, thank you, David Lammy, thank you, Keir Starmer, thank you, Bridget Phillipson, thank you, Rachel Reeves. And do you know what we do? We go, sorry. At least I have got nice nails to do it. But they look weak. They look pathetic. They look They don't even look childish, because children don't behave this badly. They just look base. Now, I think when I was growing up, if I ever got told my behaviour was base, that was about as low as it could go. And I was like, well, quite literally, low as it can go. And that used to really bother me. And I used to take that to heart. And I was like, oh, God, I have really done it this time. And yet they're impervious to this. I know, political commentary at the minute is full of they can't take accountability. They're always blaming somebody else. It's never their fault. Did you hear this one? Did you hear that one? Did you see this one? It's everywhere. And of course, it's the right-wing media. They're being so negative. They're lying. It's all the right-wing media's fault. We can't even take feedback without it being the right-wing media's fault. I mean, it will be Donald Trump's fault. It will be, the bloody Magic Roundabout's fault. It doesn't matter. Postman Pat will be up for this one. It's his fault that David Lammy cannot take responsibility for what's happened on his watch. Bridget Phillipson cannot take responsibility for what's happened on her watch. They cannot see that the decisions and the actions that they are or aren't making are directly correlated to this. They've had so long in opposition just spouting this shit that now they're in actual power. this shit actually has to mean something, and it doesn't. It means nothing. So they go, it was their fault. And I look at how much money they earn for sitting there doing that. I look at the perks they have. I mean, I heard that David Lammy didn't hear some news of one of the releases because he was shopping for a new suit that morning. It's time to go shopping for a suit. I can't remember the last time I actually went out on a shopping trip to buy clothes, specifically to buy clothes. I mean, it happens when I go to the supermarket, if it does, and I'm in Sainsbury's or Morrison's and I go, oh, I need a jumper, I'll have that, thanks. David Lammy is supposed to be this high-powered Justice Secretary, Deputy P, all of these things, and he's out shopping for suits? I mean, really? Honestly? Well, yes, really and honestly. So, I mean, I didn't have a huge amount of respect in the first place, if I'm totally honest. Now I've got none. Now I just think you're base. Absolutely base. And I feel for the family, for all of the victims of these people that have been released in error. All of the victims. It's not just anxiety that they're feeling, Mr. Lammy. And perhaps you could do them the courtesy of sitting down and talking to them and listening, because I bet they've got some words that they could share with you. It's a national disgrace. And to say you're sorry for the anxiety that a victim was feeling doesn't even come close. Doesn't even come close.